It is 2:14 a.m. You are staring at the ceiling, feeling the familiar, crushing weight pressing against your chest. You are exhausted. Not the kind of exhaustion that comes from a hard day of physical labor. This is a deeper, quieter rut. The exhaustion of carrying dead weight. You are thinking about a situation you know is dead. Maybe it is a relationship that is flatlined, where you are the only one desperately doing CPR. Maybe it is a career path that feels like a prison cell, constructed from a paycheck and other people's expectations. Maybe it is a loyalty to a friend or a family member that is slowly draining the life from your veins. And yet, you stay. You tell yourself that you are just being strong. You tell yourself that a good man endures, that a loyal partner fights until the bitter end, that a dedicated worker never walks away. You wear your suffering like a badge of honor, secretly convinced that your ability to tolerate misery is proof of your character. But the room is quiet right now. The distractions are gone. The screens are dark. If you are listening to this, you know exactly what this feels like. Be honest with yourself. You are not being strong. You are slowly drowning. You are bleeding out your vitality into a corpse, hoping your warmth will somehow bring it back to life. And that's okay. You are not broken for feeling this way, but you are profoundly mistaken. This is core wisdom. And today, we're going deeper. If you have ever felt this way, if you know what it is like to be trapped by your own misplaced loyalty, you are in the right place. Subscribe. We build the fortress together. Since you were a child, you have been infected with a very specific, very dangerous disease, the disease of endurance. Society relentlessly glorifies the concept of never giving up. We are told that quitters never win and winners never quit. We are bombarded with stories of heroes who suffered endlessly, who took the beatings, who weathered the storms, and who were ultimately rewarded for their stubborn persistence. And so, you learn to associate endurance with virtue. You learn to view the desire to leave as a moral failure. When the relationship became toxic, you stayed, thinking it was a test of your unconditional love. When the job started destroying your mental health, you stayed, thinking it was a test of your discipline. You have convinced yourself that if you just suffer a little longer, if you just try a little harder, the situation will miraculously transform. You wake up dreading the day, you go to sleep regretting it, and you call this noble. But look closer. Look at the reality of your life. Not the fantasy of what it could be, but the cold, hard reality of what it is right now. Is your endurance actually fixing anything? Or is it simply prolonging the inevitable? There is a profound difference between enduring a necessary hardship on the path to a meaningful goal and stubbornly clinging to a sinking ship because you are terrified of the water. We mistake the heavy chains of a prison for the solid walls of a fortress. We think our pain is an investment. It is not. It is a hemorrhage. 2,000 years ago, someone understood this perfectly. The ancient Stoics did not view endurance as a blanket virtue. They understood that enduring the wrong things is not strength, it is foolishness. But here is what nobody tells you about why you really stay in these dead situations. And this is the part that hurts to hear. It is not about loyalty. It is not about love. It is not about dedication. It is about ego, and it is about fear. Psychologists call it the sunk cost fallacy. You look at the months, the years, the decades you have poured into this person, this career, this identity. You look at the energy, the money, the tears, the compromises. And your ego screams that if you walk away now, all of that was wasted. You cannot stomach the idea that you made a bad investment, so you double down. You throw good years after bad. You are paying for a mistake from your past with the limited, irreplaceable currency of your future. You are sacrificing the man you could become tomorrow to protect the pride of the man you were yesterday. But it gets worse. Because beneath the ego, there is a much darker mechanism at play. The fear of the void. If you finally admit that this situation is dead, if you finally let it go, what is left? Empty space. Silence. The terrifying uncertainty of a blank slate. You stay in the burning house because at least the fire is warm. At least the burning house is familiar. You know exactly how it hurts. You are choosing a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven, simply because the heaven requires you to walk through the dark to get there. Imagine a massive ancient oak tree. One of its thickest branches has caught a disease. The branch is dying, rotting from the inside out. What happens if the tree refuses to let it go? What happens if the tree keeps pumping water and nutrients into that dead wood, hoping it will suddenly sprout green leaves. The rot spreads. It moves down the branch, enters the main trunk, and eventually kills the entire organism. The tree does not save the branch by holding on. It only destroys itself. To save the tree, you need a surgeon's blade. You must make a clean, brutal cut. You must amputate the dead weight so the rest of the organism can survive. The cut is violent. It leaves a scar, but it is the only path to continued life. You are that tree. And right now, you are pumping your precious life force, your sanity, your youth, into a dead branch. You are calling it endurance, but it is actually a slow, agonizing suicide. And you know this is true. You feel it in your bones every morning before your feet even touch the floor. The heaviness, the dread, the invisible gravity that pulls you back down into the mattress. So why do we refuse to pick up the blade? Why do we choose the slow death of endurance over the sharp pain of liberation? In the year 62 AD, in the heart of Rome, a man sat alone in his private quarters, grappling with this exact terrifying question. His name was Seneca. He was the most powerful advisor in the Roman Empire, the tutor and confidant to Emperor Nero. But Nero was spiraling into madness. The court had become a theater of paranoia, betrayal, and murder. Seneca had spent years trying to guide him, enduring the chaos, enduring the toxicity, hoping his wisdom could somehow fix a fundamentally broken man and a wrought iron system. Imagine him there. The marble is cold beneath his feet. He is aging. He is exhausted. He listens to the distant footsteps of the Praetorian Guard echoing through the palace halls. And in the quiet of the night, Seneca realizes a devastating truth. His endurance is no longer a virtue. It is complicity. He is pouring his remaining life into a vessel with no bottom. He is watering a dead branch. Seneca did not double down. He did not tell himself to just be stronger. He went to Nero, offered the emperor his entire, vast fortune, and asked for permission to retire. He asked to walk away. Because Seneca understood a reality that you are actively trying to ignore. He wrote about it in his brilliant essay, On the Shortness of Life. Seneca observed a strange paradox in human behavior. He noted that we are fiercely protective of our physical property. If someone tries to steal your gold, or your land, or your home, you will take up arms and fight them to the death. But when it comes to our time, the single most precious, non-renewable resource in the universe, we hand it over freely. We allow situations that are actively destroying us to steal our days, our months, and our years. We let a dead-end job consume our prime working years. We let an incompatible partner drain our emotional reserves. We let a stagnant environment suffocate our potential. We act as if we will live for 1,000 years. We endure the unbearable present, assuming we have an infinite supply of tomorrows waiting in reserve. You do not. Every single day you spend enduring a situation that is fundamentally wrong for you is a day stolen from the life you were meant to build. You are paying for a mistake from your past with the limited currency of your future. Let that sink in. But here is what nobody tells you. And this is the part that will sting. Look closer at your own life. Stop calling your paralysis loyalty. Stop calling your fear resilience. It is time to strip away the noble labels you have slapped onto your own suffering. Be honest with yourself. If you stay in a miserable situation simply because you are terrified of the unknown, that is not loyalty. That is cowardice masquerading as virtue. The ego loves the identity of the martyr. The martyr gets to complain. The martyr gets sympathy. The martyr gets to feel morally superior to the people who are hurting them. But most importantly, the martyr never has to take the terrifying risk of stepping into the void and building something new. It is far easier to be the noble victim of a bad situation than to be the courageous architect of a new one. Carl Jung, the legendary psychoanalyst, warned us about the shadow, the hidden, unacknowledged parts of ourselves. Your shadow loves your false endurance. It uses your own moral compass as a weapon against you. It whispers in your ear, if you leave, you are the bad guy. If you walk away, you are a quitter. If you end this, you are selfish. And because you want to be seen as reliable, because you want to be the strong one, you fall into the trap. You sacrifice your sovereign soul to avoid feeling guilty. You let the fear of someone else's disappointment keep you locked in a cage. But guilt is a cheap price to pay for your freedom. Disappointing them is better than destroying yourself. 2,000 years ago, the ancients had a very specific framework for distinguishing between weakness and wisdom. They understood that quitting is an emotional reaction. Walking away is a strategic decision. Quitting is driven by temporary fatigue. Walking away is driven by profound clarity. Quitting happens in a moment of panic when the pressure gets too high. Walking away is executed with cold, deliberate precision when the truth can no longer be denied. Quitting is what happens when you lose control. Walking away is what happens when you finally take it back. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. You cannot control the fact that the relationship failed. You cannot control the fact that the company culture is toxic. You cannot control the fact that the path you chose 5 years ago no longer aligns with the man you are today. But you control the blade. You control the cut. You have been taught that walking away means you failed, that stepping back means you lost the battle. But what if the opposite is true? What if staying in a dead situation is the actual failure? What if the highest form of self-mastery is looking at a massive investment of your time, your energy, and your heart, and having the sheer, unadulterated power to say, enough? And this is where everything changes. Once you see the surgeon's blade not as an instrument of destruction, but as an instrument of salvation, you cannot unsee it. The dominoes are falling. Now, pay attention. This is the part that matters. How do you actually execute this? How do you pick up the blade when your hands are shaking? You must completely rewire how you calculate value. Right now, your internal accounting is broken. You are measuring the value of staying by looking at what you have already spent. You must start measuring the value of leaving by looking at what you will buy back. You are buying back your sovereignty. You are buying back your peace. You are buying back the unwritten chapters of your life. And yes, the price is immediate, sharp, temporary pain. But there is a trap waiting for you the moment you make the cut. And you must be prepared for it. Behavioral psychologists call it euphoric recall. The moment you finally walk away from the toxic job, the dead relationship, or the draining friendship, your brain will suddenly panic. The dopamine pathways that were accustomed to the chaotic cycle of suffering and relief will scream for their usual fix. Your mind will start playing a highlight reel of the only 3 good days you had last year, conveniently erasing the 300 days of misery. Your ego will whisper that maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you did not endure quite long enough. Maybe you should go back and try one more time. Do not listen to the ghost. The ghost is lying. This is the withdrawal period. This is where most men break. This is where you must stand firm in the center of the storm. When the doubt creeps in, you do not negotiate with it. You apply the brutal, rapid-fire logic of the ancient arena. Did you disappoint them by finally walking away? Good. You just established a boundary they can never cross again. Did you lose years of investment in a dead-end path? Good. You bought the brutal truth, and the truth is always worth the price. Did people call you selfish for choosing your own sanity? Good. Their disapproval is the tax you pay for your freedom. Pay it gladly. Did it hurt to make the cut? Good. That means you were awake when you did it. Did you shatter the image of the perfect, enduring martyr you built for yourself? Good. That mask was suffocating you anyway. The pain of the cut is clean. The pain of endurance is dirty. Clean pain heals. Dirty pain infects. But what about the empty space? What about that terrifying void that follows the departure? This is where we look to the East. The ancient Zen masters understood this void differently than we do in the Western world. We see empty space as a terrifying lack of something. We are obsessed with filling every silent moment with noise, every empty room with furniture, and every blank hour with endless, mindless tasks. We think emptiness means failure. The Zen master saw emptiness as the birthplace of everything. They called it the fertile void. You cannot fill a cup that is already overflowing with toxic, stagnant water. You must empty it first. The space you are so afraid of is not a graveyard. It is a blank canvas. It is the only place where something new can actually be built. When you walk away from the dead weight, you are not stepping into nothingness. You are stepping into pure potential. Remember the massive oak tree. Remember the rotting branch. When the surgeon finally cuts the dead wood away, the tree does not weep for what was lost. It immediately begins sending sap to the wound. It seals the breach. It heals. And then in the spring, something miraculous happens. Because the tree is no longer wasting its precious limited life force on a corpse, new branches begin to grow, stronger ones. Green leaves emerge where there was only decay. The tree did not shrink because it was cut. It expanded. You will expand, but only after you bleed. There is no avoiding the blood. There is no avoiding the grief of letting go of the future you thought you were going to have. But grief is the heavy door you must push open to exit the burning house. You have a choice right now, in this exact moment. You can close this video, go back to your life, and continue to endure. You can keep carrying the corpse on your back. You can keep telling yourself that your suffering makes you noble, while your sovereign soul quietly starves to death in the dark. Or you can make the cut. You can accept that you made a mistake. You can forgive yourself for the wasted time. You can look at the people who expect you to drown for their comfort and calmly tell them no. Do not negotiate with your fear. Do not ask for permission from the people who benefit from your exhaustion. They will never give it to you. You must take it. So return to the room. It is 2:14 a.m. again. You are lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling. But this time, the crushing weight on your chest is gone. The invisible gravity has been broken. The room is quiet, but it is no longer a prison cell. It is a sanctuary. The dead weight has been dropped. You are finally empty. And in that beautiful, terrifying emptiness, for the first time in years, you can take a deep, clear breath. You are not the victim trapped in the room anymore. You are the architect who finally had the courage to close the door. Sleep well. The war is over. You are safe inside the walls. This is core wisdom. If you have the courage to walk this path, subscribe. Leave the herd behind.